now. Senator, good to have you.
Thank you.
Very different proposal here. So you're saying take the shares in General Motors that represent about 60% of the company now, restructured company, and literally give shares equally to everyone who submitted their taxes this past April 15th. Is that right?
That's right. It's a pretty simple proposal, and if you think about it, it's pretty logical. I mean, the government used the tax money to buy General Motors, 60% of it, so we might as well get that stock out of Washington and back in the hands of 150 million individual investors. I mean, the real reason for it is to avoid what you see happening today. I mean, here they are, the chief executives from Detroit, they're in Washington answering questions about. They'll be here next week answering questions about models, and they'll be here next week answering questions about where the plants are going to be and where they're going to be closed and why they're buying an electric battery in South Korea instead of from Indiana. Congressmen and senators and the president and the White House will be all over them. Yeah. The president's already called and said, let's the headquarters in Detroit instead of Warren, Michigan. So how are they going to build cars if we have politicians telling them what to do?
Okay, so there are probably a lot of American taxpayers right now raising their hand and say, yeah, I'm in. I would like to have a share or a couple shares of General Motors. But let me point out that a finance professor at the University of Michigan, Barath, told Politico that here's the real problem. If you have 60% stake in this spread out over hundreds of millions of American taxpayers, then you have the people who have like 5% stake becoming incredibly important. They're the decision makers.
That's right. That's right. I suppose the risk. That would mean that the government of Canada owns 12%, the bondholders own 10%, the UAW trust funds owns 20%. But what's the alternative? We'll have to take 4 or 5 years of having the government in Washington try to run a car company. I mean, that's the way the Soviets used to do it, and they produced clones. What we need to do is get the government out of the ownership of Chrysler and General Motors, put it in the hands of individual investors, and let the marketplace go from there. Maybe some entrepreneurs come in and buy 10% of the company. That's the way private enterprise is supposed to work, and that's the only way I think new GM will succeed.
Senator Alexander, I want to ask you quickly health care reform. You know, President Obama says he wants it done before the Senate goes into recess in August. Where do you stand right now on the president's plan, including the possibility of some of these health care benefits?
Well, number one, I and Republicans agree that we want to deal with health care this year, that we want to change. We want people to be able to afford their policy, choose their doctor, choose their health plan, not have rationing, not have someone in between themselves and their doctor. Those are our principles. We're opposed to one thing the president is for, which is a government-run option that will squeeze all the other options out. I don't think he can get it done by August. He won't get it done at all unless he devotes his full attention. We want to see it done. We're anxious to work in a bipartisan way to help get it done.
Senator Alexander from Tennessee, thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thanks for your time.
Coming up, Brian Williams at NBC News.